Hello and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast Minisodes. My name is Vera and I'm joined, as always, by my two Imperial co-hosts.
Ooh, hello.
Katie.
Hi.
And Livy.
Hi. Now I'm imagining, like, our listeners trying to guess from the adjective what we're going to be talking about. Like, is it Star Wars? Mm-hmm. Is it Russia?
Well, maybe they'll see the name of the episode and they'll know.
Oh, that always gives it away.
Oh, well.
Untitled.
Kind of obvious. Yeah.
Yes, today we're very excited we're going to be back in your ears, guys. And number two, to be talking about one of our new favorite shows, I guess, because we only discovered it not too long ago.
I see.
Star Trek Discovery!
Yay!
This is a minisode episode requested by our wonderful friend of the podcast and my partner, Amanda.
Woo-hoo. Hi,
Yay.
Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. You better like this.
Yeah.
So, Star Trek Discovery, we only watched this last fall, right? Isn't that what happened?
Last fall, no.
No?
You've lost all sense of time.
I have. I thought it was during quarantine times. Because that's when we got Star Trek.
I certainly watched it all during the COVID times.
See? You're wrong. I'm right.
But you guys, I think, had already seen season 1 at least.
But we'd only seen it like a little bit before that.
Okay. Not in the fall. The fall just happened.
No.
Yes.
It was months ago. This is already summer.
So confusing.
Hot boy summer?
Vera, what year do you think it is?
3189?
We must have watched it in the summer of last year.
Yeah, but that's still...
I don't know.
You know, it was pretty recent.
After Picard.
Right, it's because this is what happened. Well, COVID happened, and then we went into space in our minds, and we did Star Trek. All Star Trek, all the time, all the Star Treks, all of it.
Yes.
So, first Voyager.
Which you may remember from our 79 special episode.
And then we were like, Katie and I were like, it's about time we did this Star Trek Discovery thing that we've been seeing on fandom.
We'd heard good things.
Yeah, I personally knew it from like all the vids I've seen. So I was like, it's time. So we did it and we liked it a lot. And we were like, okay, Liv, Amanda, you guys got to watch it.
Yeah.
So we made you watch it and put a pin in some of this discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty recent, but like we've really grown to love it, and we're excited to talk about it. How should we begin?
Oh my God.
What is
a
Star Trek Discovery?
Yeah.
I think we should contextualize its place in the vast universe of Star Trek.
Yes.
And now what we can actually call the Star Trek universe because of how Viacom CBS is trying to compete with
the Star Wars
universe and the Marvel Cinematic Universe and whatnot. And Star Trek's previously have kind of been all over the place. So now we're getting this like big cohesive crazy thing with its own day officially from the corporate end of things.
Which is on First Contact.
First Contact Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like May the 4th now. Yeah.
Nice.
What day is First Contact Day?
April.
Oh, I'm disappointed in you, Katie. She's stumped.
You just did it. You looked at it, too. It's Live Long and Prosper Day.
It's April 20-something. Is that right?
Fact checker. Come on. Get us a fact checker.
It doesn't have a catchy phrase that can get stuck in my head based on being, like, raised Catholic, where you go, May the 4th be with you, etc.
You can't say live long and prosper on April 26th.
Well, that doesn't...
April 5th.
April 5th.
April 5th and prosper.
April 5th and prosper. Really is a ring to it.
But I think what I was trying to say was that I was trying to lead up to the fact that there is many Star Trek, right?
yeah, many.
There are several series. There's the original one. There's Next Generation. There's Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
There's Voyager. There's Enterprise.
Yeah.
And then there was...
Cartoon.
Well, there was a cartoon, yes, of the original series back before.
Movies,
tons of movies.
Yeah.
But then what I was going to say was, like, after Enterprise, then you kind of got the first reboot of stuff, which was the J.J.
Yeah.
Abrams movies, which rebooted the original series. And then Discovery, several years later, is the first, like, new Star Trek series
Since Enterprise. Yeah.
So that's been, like, a long time.
It's a chunk of
But
time.
there was a reboot situation in the movie land.
Oh,
but, like, so there's just a lot on this show, I think, going into it. Mm-hmm. Just a lot.
To me, it feels aesthetically related to the JJ reboots. Like, I feel like you see some of the just like visual style of JJ in Disco.
Would you chalk that up to Kurtzman?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's part of that for sure. Yeah, we actually do have some overlap creatively between the teams behind both the JJ stuff and Disco in the form of Alex Kurtzman,
our old pal,
who you may remember as the guy who ruined Xena, along with his buddy Orsi.
I was like, we gotta bring this in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Never forget.
Sure. I think he's slightly better these days, and I think divorced from that team on his own has not been angering me.
Okay, so maybe Orsi was the problem all along.
Perhaps.
That Bob Orsi.
Perhaps. I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. I think especially season 2, which was
I think you're right there. I mean, because like thinking about like season 1 when the show started, like I wouldn't have like it's maybe like the same style, but like graduated, progressed to be like newer, not like so like J.J. Abrams movies are kind of like what Instagram started with, like those filters, like there was
the
a very
lens
specific,
flares.
Yeah, like a very specific like look to it, and it's like
very
it's dated
shiny.
now.
Yeah,
so
it is quite dated. It was dated
thing.
then. People mocked it at the time for being a little, lens flare happy.
I mean, it was, but it was doing a thing. Everything was like white, like everything was kind of like a Mac computer, like white.
Oh, the bridge.
Yeah, it was sort of like living in the Apple Store.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. It was doing a thing.
Yeah. I don't like them.
Yeah. So Katie and I, like, we said we had a Trek bender, and we
Trek
like
bender.
It's still bending.
It's still bending. Yeah.
We're
on Enterprise. We're almost done with season 1 Enterprise.
We're watching Enterprise.
Yeah.
Guys. And liking it.
Is that rock bottom of the Trek bender?
Some people would say
Supposedly,
yes, but we like it.
This is not a Star Trek Enterprise pod, but I would just like to shout out it as being not that bad, and I think maybe it had to do with like, I think it's like a thing with Trek, and we can talk about this with Disco, where every time there's a new one, everyone's like, this sucks.
I mean, it's a pretty universal fan reaction.
Yeah, and certainly... Enterprise has its issues, but I think having not lived through experiencing that, and I'm just kind of watching it, knowing people's reactions to it already, I'm like, yeah, it has problems that I don't like, but, eating your breakfast, it's fine. It's nice. Anyway.
Listen, watching TOS was a slog for me, so everything is better than that. Sorry, guys.
Wow,
that
and
is
therefore,
heretical.
No, because TNG is what I discovered, not discovered, but like that's what I came into America with. That was like the show that I first saw in the Brady Bunch, and Captain Planet.
And TNG.
But yeah, TNG was like really like kind of like monumental in that sense. So like that's my Trek that I grew up with. So like I can understand how you'd be protective of the one.
That.
However, the movies were genuinely amazing, and like therefore I can't the TOS movies. No,
the TOS
movies.
The original series movies.
Yeah, like they were
Wrath
like
of Khan.
Yeah, you'd be like, I wish that was the show. Like it was just really it was hard to get through those episodes. I spent like half of them on the facts, reading the facts about the episode.
Yeah. I mean, they're very specific. The original series,
rough.
You have to contextualize them for the time in which they're
and also for the people who grew up with them, I get it.
Yeah.
I apologize, guys. Like, teach their own.
And there's certainly stuff that I like about them, which is interesting because I think Discovery coming in and being the new Trek series, like after the whole movie experiment, whatever, calls back to the original series a lot, the most of all the new iterations of Trek. Like the two other Treks, obviously, is Picard, so that's a given that it's, based in TNG. And then Lower Decks is a little bit more TNG focused, I think, and original series. But this one, I think, pulled in a lot of original show.
Well, because it's like set right before it,
right,
and including like you
see
some of it in it.
Yeah.
So
and I guess that's part of what like pings me as being like JJ, because both Discovery and the JJ movies are obviously all original series nostalgia. Yeah.
Which is not my nostalgia, and therefore I had a problem with them. That's explained. Yeah. So we talked about how disco started and like what it means. Should we get into sort of like how it is season by season and whatnot?
Sure. It is a bit of a like puzzle. Like each season up until this point has had a different showrunner.
Yeah.
So it is very much like if you've ever played that game Exquisite Corpse, where you fold the paper over and everybody draws a little picture on their little piece of paper, and then you open it and you're like, what? We created a thing. That's Star Trek Discovery.
Well, we actually, we've encountered this before. It's Killing Eve.
Which
is by design that way versus
that's what they claimed. Yes, whereas disco, it seems to be just a product.
It's like an oops, this happened.
Production troubles.
A production oops.
A production
big
oops.
Production oopses.
It's called a poops.
Well, it started with a big Star Trek alum at the helm, Brian Fuller.
Yes.
Brian Fuller is formerly the showrunner of Hannibal, Pushing Daisies, Wonderfalls. He's very much a kind of auteur of TV, very specific style. In recent years, he's run into trouble in that he keeps getting fired off shows for wanting to make them for too much money. Discovery is one such show. So he very, very quickly, I believe, was terminated.
I think so.
Maybe after two episodes? I don't even know if he got that far.
And he had very interesting ideas that are different than what we do end up getting that would have sort of pulled new Star Trek into a different direction. I think like two of the interesting ones that I was like, about were originally Star Trek Discovery for him was going to be like an American Horror Story style show where every season was an anthology and different.
It's almost like he wanted to make Star Trek Discovery be what it's become.
Yeah, but I think
different characters.
Yeah.
Which, they might get there. This could happen as a show eventually.
That's interesting. That is very interesting.
With literally a different ship, different people.
Yeah.
Which...
I mean, it's interesting, but it is very ambitious, and not for the reboot of the whole series, like for the nowadays.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be like AHS where you have your cast of the same people.
Your repertory.
You don't
know that.
I think that would be odd in this.
Oh, it's true because they're probably all going to be connected or whatever.
Yeah, you probably have people cross over.
Yeah.
That some ships would meet.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm selling myself on this idea. I think it's really cool.
But I think,
not for the first thing that comes back since Enterprise in 2000.
And so much of these shows are, you connect to the characters, and to have just one season with them and have it yanked away, like the idea of like only having Michael Burnham for one season is bullshit.
I think that's like
I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah. That's my biggest thing with that is that there's so many good characters that like still need developing. I wouldn't want to say goodbye to them. Not Michael Burnham. Michael Burnham is
very developed.
And fantastic. But and it was supposed to move throughout time.
Oh,
this is very cool.
Okay.
Someone give Brian Fuller money again, please.
And then the other one, which is a big part of the whole show generally, but especially season 1, is that the mirror universe wasn't supposed to be in the vein of the Star Trek mirror universe, which, if you're familiar, is basically where like the evil goatee came from. Like everybody in the parallel mirror universe, like everybody has a counterpart that's like evil. It's very black and white, very like this place sucks, our place is good.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. But I really enjoy that, and I think it's really fun what we see in Disco. But his idea was a little bit more sliding doors, a little bit more like, you do this one thing different, and this is the other universe. So it doesn't really feel like the mirror universe to me. It feels more like just kind of like parallel timeline where you make a different choice. I don't really understand how it becomes the mirror universe. But whatever. That was more of the idea there. But he was fired. So
we'll never know.
So goatees it is.
We don't see that stuff. And then there's some new
so
people.
then we get this writing pair, Gretchen J. Berg and Aaron Harberts, who had previously worked with Brian Fuller on other shows. So it's sort of like they're supposed to continue his vision, but with less money.
Right.
And with oversight from Akiva Goldsman, who is also kind of a bad robot
Fringe
guy. Yes.
Yeah.
Fringe and many other JJ properties.
And Practical Magic, the movie.
Oh, and also Practical Magic, the movie. What a funny fact.
I love that fact. I was going to say it if nobody else did.
Never forget. Yeah, well, Akiva was really good at developing the alternate universe on Fringe. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring him in for any alternate universe needs you might have.
Yeah.
Except they don't exist in season 2, right? So you're talking about season 2 showrunners.
I think Akiva was there only for season 1.
Oh, okay, then perfect.
These showrunners who I'm talking about, the writing team, are there in season 1.
Oh, right, after he
Brian
left.
Fuller
Yes.
is fired right away.
Gotcha.
So yeah, season 1.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I like season 1.
Yeah.
I'll just put that out there. But like, it is finding its footing, and we'll get into it. But it's kind of like every season 1. And it's true of every season 1 of every Star Trek that ever existed.
Not quite itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true of like a lot of TV.
Yeah. Very
also.
common TV problem.
But what
The problem with Star Trek Discovery is that we don't know what it is.
We'll find out. But I think like one of the biggest things with Disco, I just kind of want to say this off the top, is, and especially with new modern Trek, and just like the core like central thing of Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry, who has problematic stuff. We'll just put it.
Oh man, yeah.
But
Going for the jar.
the
Forgot the jar's gone.
This core thing of Star Trek, which is the infinite diversity and infinite combinations, we need to be continuously in Star Trek, which started in the 60s, like working towards what that actually is. And like I remember seeing like the first trailer for Discovery, and like this show is fantastic because basically you have some of the first shots, and it's like 2 women of color who are like
in a
the
desert.
captain and the XO.
Yeah.
You have Sonequa Martin Green and Michelle Yeoh, who is a queen. They both are. But like, and that's like amazing. And that's one of the things that as Disco goes on gets even better and better.
Yeah.
Representation wise. It's probably the best of all Star Treks. By being the most recent.
Yeah. But you do feel that they've put that at the forefront.
Yeah.
That is very much like
Absolutely.
a high priority value that they've implemented.
Yeah. And other casts have been as well very diverse. But yeah, like there's just seeing these 2 ladies on the bridge. Hello. So good.
Yeah. And that's like basically the first thing you see in the pilot.
The desert thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So now let's talk about Michelle Yeoh the whole time, because I think that's what Amanda just wants to hear.
I mean, yeah. Amanda.
Our listeners would not mind if all we talked about.
That must be the biggest femme/ship
is Georgiou.
That's how.
Georgiou and Michael.
I mean, that's how we found out about. Well, it's not how we found out about Star Trek Discovery, but that's like the first thing we saw were these bits for them.
Yeah, I've seen so many Michael,
and
Georgiou vids before I actually saw
the
Discovery.
show.
They did not make sense to me.
No,
because I didn't understand what was going on. Like I didn't know the mirror universe stuff. So
we didn't know. It was like, okay, sometimes she wears like
happening.
this outfit.
Her hair changes constantly.
Yeah, so there's no spoilers in this if you haven't watched any Star Treks. I don't think we can avoid them, so just a warning.
Yeah, so are we going to talk about season 1 specifically, or are we going to kind of like go season by season.
So what's the whole deal with season 1? What's the overarching business?
Well, Star Trek Discovery sort of reintroduces us to the world of Starfleet and also the baddies, Klingons.
Yeah, we're firmly pre-original series.
Pre-original series.
10 years pre?
That sounds right.
Yeah, and the show was highly influenced by Game of Thrones.
Oh, yes.
With the Klingons.
Because the Klingons are 100% from
Game of Thrones.
The house rivalry.
House rivalries.
That's true, yeah. They have this very hierarchical, and also they have like prophecies.
They have prophecies. Yeah. They literally have a Jon Snow character. An albino Klingon. So the special destiny and whatnot, all that stuff was there. I really was into the war between the Klingons and Starfleet. Mm-hmm. And when we showed Amanda and Olivia the first episode or whatever, or the first two, and Olivia, you were such a crankosaur. You were like, this is derivative.
There's a lot of Klingon in the first one. You feel like there was probably a network note being like less Klingon.
I think for sure there was a
you mean like note. For you
like
mean
the language?
Seasons?
The language. You mean like the language? And eventually the culture as a whole. I think it definitely. It's one of those things where I was complaining a lot about it in the moment, and then later when I look back at it, I was like, "Hey, it was trying something." Right. I do respect them.
It sure was.
That was like some heavy world building they were trying to do. Clearly they wanted the season at that point to be Klingons versus Starfleet, which is a interesting idea for a Star Trek, because usually they are not like war focused right away. So that was awesome. Really like a bold starting move. But yeah, I was a little put off by it. For me, it was like the writing of the Klingons. I was like, oh dear.
But not the character redesign.
That I didn't have a problem with. I was amused to hear that the fans were so against new Klingon designs.
So this must have been like we decided that this must have been like what it was like for fans of the original series to tune into the movies, and they saw a Klingon, which previously was a guy in blackface, and then now it's like crazy forehead ridge makeup and like just like stuff that happened.
Makeup technology has improved in crazy amounts.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them at all for like wanting to do like more.
Something
they should
different.
Do more alien stuff that's out of control and
keep
not just
them
like a
hotties. I don't want to see no blobs. I want to see hotties.
What? Oh, you like an alien, like in the cartoon that
or like whatever. You. Like anything alien is not like a hottie with a little nose ridge.
Oh my god, you're the worst.
You're so specious.
I just showed Vera the cartoon Prodigy ones, and there's a cute little alien who's just like an adorable little like purple like slug blob. I don't know how to describe. That's
a show for cartoons. That's a show for kids.
All right.
Anyway,
but
so
I liked that too, and I think it was trying to do a bunch of stuff with one of the central things in Star Trek, which is like, and this show is called Star Trek Discovery, right? But it starts kind of immediately with this big like war situation, right? Which is the whole thing with like Starfleet always being like, we're explorers and scientists.
Not military.
Also, you're the military. And like, what is the line and what does that mean is a really interesting story. And I think they were doing that in season 1.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Which is, I thought that was good stuff.
Yeah, I liked that they immediately, I think, kind of had this like new relationship with Starfleet. Like, you felt like in our day and age, like you can criticize Starfleet, you can like have some trust issues with authority that maybe were not so heavily there in the earlier shows.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I was shocked at the character redesign, which, when you first saw the trailer for it, and I thought it was a really strong trailer for Disco, I was like, oh, new aliens introduced, new baddies. And then you like see their computer screens and it's like the Klingon sign. And you're like, wait a second, these are Klingons. And it was like just shocking to you. But I really I like that they're kind of modeled after like the H.R. Giger paintings.
Yeah, that's
everything
nice.
is very like, you know, reminds me of like Alien and stuff. And you sort of get used to it. I guess my like... The thing I didn't like is like the font they used for, you know, translating them.
Oh, right, the subtitles.
This is very Spanishly nitpicky.
Yeah,
that's because I liked it. So there you go. That's as much of an issue as I could come up with. I loved all the. I loved hearing. I loved that the fact that they were made to like speak that language because it is a developed language, Klingon, and I really really loved my two fave Klingons, Volk.
Jon Snow.
Yeah, Jon Snow. And Laurel.
Laurel is great. I miss Laurel.
I miss Laurel too, man.
Yeah, great character.
Really great character.
Mother of Klingons.
Yeah.
AKA Mother of Dragons. Yes.
I definitely came around to Volk. I loved the first season twist that this other character. This is a pretty big spoiler if you haven't seen the show.
We're spoilers everywhere.
Maybe fast forward if you don't want to know this, but like we're introduced to this human character Ash, who is Michael's love interest.
Yeah.
And then you find out that he's Volk, a character you've already met earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the thing about it is that I mean that actor Shazad Latif like really really like impressed me with not only his like Ash Tyler being full of PTSD from his capture by the Klingons, right? Like he really sold that. I really loved that whenever he was like in a scene, he would like always get triggered by his you know trauma, and I was really into that for a while. I mean, and then it's like revealed that you know he's secretly Vogue.
He's a Klingon.
He's been turned into a human, and like that the trauma is like that, which is really really good. But like also like how he as Vogue like really committed to the language. Like I think of him out of like. I mean, I think also Laurel
as well.
But like he, like we were doing all these impressions of him, like being like, Galish!
Well, he did vocally was doing really different things. His Ash performance and his Volk performance. Yeah. He uses two different voices. So later in the show, when he almost is flashing between these two persona, like you hear the two different voices, and you're like, whoa, acting.
Yeah, but it's also like how. I don't know, the way that he was doing the language and like that commitment to the language kind of like it just sounded like that's how Klingon is supposed to sound like, not like, you know, Badak and like whatever the stuff you hear on, you know, the early treks. But just like even by the pronunciation, like the fact that it was like Kalish and not like Kalis.
Yeah.
And not like Qo'noS.
Yeah, more guttural.
Qo'noS,
yeah.
Which is like just Klingon pronunciation of Qo'noS, you know, it's like saying Moskva versus Moscow, you know. So it was just like more, I don't know, it was just like authentic. It just was like authentic.
Which is that, I mean, there's good world building. One actor's commitment to just making it sound like a real language.
We're doing this podcast for Amanda, and I said we were about to talk about
Georgiou
for ever.
Let's talk about
praise upon praise to Ash Tyler.
What other man can we talk about?
The last person I expected to have all this praise heaped upon.
Was good.
I really did like that plot line. Yeah.
That's shocking.
I don't like the relate with Michael so much.
Yeah, I get it though, because we didn't even discuss this, but well, Michael Burnham, the main character of the show, you know, she's human, but she was raised by Vulcans. So like that's already an amazing.
She has her own kind of internal conflict.
Exactly. So that's why you get why she got with Ash Tyler, because he's a Klingon on the inside, but he's supposed to be a human on the outside. And then she's like raised by Vulcans, but she's a human.
Human.
I'm a Ferengi now.
Oh jeez.
So it made that relationship made sense. You know, am I happy that it's no longer a thing in season 3? Yep. I do love Book, so that's her love interest in season 3. Michelle Yeoh is in it.
Yes, and they do this thing, spoilers again, where her character, Philippa Georgiou, who's captain of the Shinjo, gets killed.
Like, immediately.
Basically through a series of events that...
Kind of Michael's fault.
Right, we would say it would be Michael's fault.
Michael, I mean, we should say starts the show, like, it's very bold, the storytelling for her. You know, just the fact that she's a mutineer.
Yes.
Yeah, she's immediately a mutineer.
She's responsible for her captain's death.
Yeah.
Like, these are...
Multiple people's deaths. She's responsible for Detmer's face being the way that it is. AKA amazing.
And it's really, I found at the beginning, sometimes I feel like I personally get like slightly, I don't think confused is the right word, but with the way the storytelling is like, it's her figuring out, and then the first season is kind of this redemption-esque arc, and kind of her figuring out how to like, not be like, just the person making decisions unto herself when she's not even at like she's not the captain, etc. It seems like it's set up that like she has the right idea, like so you get frustrated because
she's punished for something that seems reasonable,
but it's like not how you're supposed to act in this like situation. So it's very interesting. But yes, then all this catastrophic stuff happens. Fortunately, the Mirror Universe exists, so we do have Michelle Yeoh from the Mirror Universe, probably like the best thing about Star Trek Discovery.
When you first like watched the first character,
I would say Michael Burnham is the best thing about Star Trek Discovery.
Yes, I would agree.
Number two thing,
like I would say the ship Star Trek Discovery ship Discovery is the best
by
thing.
Being so amazing.
Michelle Yeoh is just an incredible... She's like her own special effect.
Yeah. That's why I thought...
Oh my god.
I fully bought that they like killed her off in like whatever the second or first episode.
Like Michelle's
she's too big for this shit.
Yeah,
and that's where I was like, they got her. They made you think.
Had Crazy Rich Asians. So, you know, there's like major thing.
Yeah.
Like I was like, she could book whatever she wants right now.
Exactly.
She's an international superstar.
She's fantastic. I believe that, you know, they made you think she was like the captain for the whole show, and then she's not because she's too big.
But then they bring her back, and basically she never leaves.
Which is good for us.
Yes.
Very good. The Mirror Universe is probably the best stretch of season 1.
Yeah.
It's dark and delicious.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I would agree. I like how, like, season 1... Maybe like all the seasons I kind of saw described as having like these sort of like mini stories.
Yeah, they're
like each season has like 13 episodes, 12 to 14 or something like that. And there's like just the kind of like mini arcs of things that keep happening, which is interesting. Because like this is also the first Star Trek to be a serialized story and not episodic. With like, you know, other Star Treks have continuity, but they are still, like, episodic. This is, like, less episodic. There are some that feel like you can kind of go and it's a little bit contained, but not entirely.
Those are weird.
And then just given the odd nature of how each season changes, each season feels like it's soft rebooting itself.
Definitely.
For sure.
There are some issues that we'll get into, but... I forget where I was going with that.
Well, we're talking about the Mirror Universe.
It's kind of like already a soft reboot in the middle of a season.
Exactly.
Of
well,
I
wouldn't. I mean, I guess it's like part 1 and part 2 of the season, and it was done just phenomenally. My favorite, literal out of 3 seasons, favorite thing is that middle. Middle of like the transition from, you know, the regular show, the Klingons and all that stuff, to the Mirror Universe, which is episode 9. Into the Forest I Go, I believe. So that's the one where they do the 122 jumps,
right?
Of the ship to map the Klingon cloaking technology. And then they destroy the big Klingon ship, and then they jump to the space station. But they jump to the Mirror Universe.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned, the Discovery, the name of the ship, like, has all this really bananas technology that is sort of incongruent with the original series and Next Gen.
Anything else in Star Trek, really.
And it's
never been mentioned.
What? And the show has to kind of do some interesting twisty turnies to
try to explain
erase it from existence. And one of the things
I'm laughing because I just know this is a Brian Fuller idea that clearly almost broke all of Star Trek.
The mycelial network?
Yeah, the mycelial network, a ship that runs on mushrooms. That is nonsense that only Brian Fuller could pull off.
But it looks cool.
It does look cool.
It looks so cool.
And it's got a human driver. Which we have not mentioned that, obviously the first season establishes a bunch of the other characters that we will be following throughout the whole show who do stick around. So we have Michael, we have Georgiou, who comes back in the Mirror Universe. There's characters who don't make it out of season 1. We won't talk about them. So the main, right now, the main kind of bridge crew and / senior staff of the Discovery would be the next after Michael is Saroo, played by Doug Jones, who you might all be familiar with as very tall, lanky,
every weird alien creature that you've seen ever.
Shape of Water.
He's the shape in the water.
He's the shape in the water, yeah.
Etc. And he's a Kelpian, so he's the one who's got all the makeup and the fingers that Vera hates.
They're creepy.
Fun
the Lady shoes. Gaga shoes, and
just does swishy hands.
Yeah. But that's also a species that we never see in any other
Right, I think that's original to Discovery, the Kelpians.
Yeah. I love the way he moves his hands. It's so fun. And so he's a fantastic character. Who else we got? We have Tilly.
Yep, Ensign Sylvia Tilly.
Whose first name is not Tilly.
Yeah, she's a firecracker.
Yeah, and
she's full of personality.
She's fantastic. So those are I feel like the two of the senior staff bridge crew who get the most plot, and then we have Vera's faves and Amanda's faves. Detmer.
Yeah.
Kayla Detmer.
Mm-hmm. Hotshot pilot. Yeah,
Just as good as Tom Paris.
Better than.
Of the USS Voyager. And Joanne Oroshenko. They're definitely dating.
I think she's a navigator. But yeah.
She's a navigator.
She sits amazingly, just FYI. And also, they're dating.
We just don't see it.
Okay, yeah.
Vera will write all the fics about it.
No, they exist already.
Okay, that's good.
There's some more characters.
Yes, we have Reese. He does weapons, I think. Yeah. And then Bryce. He does communications, possibly.
I have no idea who these people are.
The thing is, you do know them, but you don't know them.
But you don't know them.
They're there in scenes.
There's also Ariam.
I know Ariam.
Yeah, and that was a couple of great episodes. With that character who is a human with AI.
Yeah, she's severely robotic due to an accident. Mm-hmm. She's not a robot. At first, I thought she was from Kimmy Schmidt, the robot. No. But no, she's a human with prosthetics, and they do a really amazing job. Her and Detmer, who has some prosthetics, they have a whole thing in an episode. But anyway,
then you get into the minor characters, Vera's favorite Linus.
Oh my god, Linus is amazing.
Yeah,
he looks like a lizard.
What's his species?
Oh god, because they make that alcohol from TOS.
You guys are bad Star Trek fans.
What?
Just Google
I keep stumping you and having to look things up for you.
Yeah, the one that's in that George Dickel bottle. The Linus people make it. Do you remember? It's a bottle shaped
He's a Saurian.
The Saurian brandy.
Oh.
Okay.
Do I have to do all the work here?
But I said these people make the alcohol.
All right.
So anyway, yes, Linus isn't featured as prominently as these other bridge crew Reese and Bryce and Detmer, Oroshenko, all these guys. Their faces are constantly shown in reaction shots to the point where you're these guys are definitely senior staff on the bridge.
They're here, all right.
We know them, okay? Not to mention the very consistent extras in like alien makeup that are always there, but you don't know their names at all, but they are always there consistently. So this is like what the show does really well. But like, yeah, so far, thankfully, well, Ocean Gunga had like little development. She had her own. She went on an away mission. Detmer got amazing development in season 3.
Yeah, it took a few seasons, but they eventually started
Reese and Bryce, they're still waiting for their scripts.
I think you made these people up. I'm convinced they exist.
No. I think that, like, yes, there was some good Detmer stuff in season 3. The show is really good at, like, you kind of brought it up with Ash. The show is really good, unlike other Star Treks, where, there are a few characters who I think get some ongoing, like, trauma like, development in older series, but because of the episodic nature, you don't really generally get a lot of that. And Disco, I think it's, like, part of the show, is just, like, the way people go through these horrible things and they deal with them continuously, and it's also part of, like, modern storytelling. So I think that is a plus for Disco as modern Star Trek, and then, like, kind of like a negative for it as modern Star Trek is that obviously it has less episodes, it's telling a more serialized story, all of the major stories are very big, and they're usually centered around Michael, which is great and fantastic, but it doesn't give you the time to flesh out the rest of the bridge crew the way that other Star Treks have. So I think that that's a complaint that I'm not like the first person to say it. Like, it does come up a lot where you don't know them as well as you do other shows, but that's because there's not there's not time for the Detmer only episode.
Yes, there is.
Well,
yes,
there hasn't technically been. And even the stuff that she did get, it's like they did it and then it was fixed.
Over several episodes.
Yeah.
I was happy with it.
But kind of what I'm saying is that it's like a blessing and a curse, because it's like it gets to tell these kind of big narrative stories, and but with such a big cast, you need all these people, you're just not used to with Star Trek. You kind of miss that a little bit. I don't know what the solution is, and I think that the way that each season kept changing and telling a completely different story also did a disservice to some of the characters, because it's not like, I want to use something that I think is good, people don't yell at me, but like a Game of Thrones that has huge sprawling cast and 12 episodes a season or whatever, and all of the people really well, because the story it's really serialized.
Everybody gets scenes every episode.
You're getting, and it's going on and on and on. Whereas Disco does this reboot every year, so it's meh.
Yeah, and then also it adds new characters
and then you
they get the screen time and development, and then those poor Bryce and Reese.
Yeah, so
literally year 4, maybe they'll get something this year.
Alas, poor Disco Bridge crew. I love them, and I think that one of the reasons that fandom loves them is because they're so ripe for fandom, because they're not so well drawn that fandom can go draw them.
I mean, they're hardly drawn, but they're just there. However, having watched the original series, I mean, it's shocking how very similar, the main cast, literal main cast of the very famous people, Sulu and Uhura are not characters.
It's a 3-man show.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That I didn't know that.
Well, yeah.
Because of how they're featured everywhere.
Yeah. Right. So in a way, Disco, its best revenge is the fact that really for a lot of the first season, it is a one-woman show, and it is the Michael Burnham show.
Which is great.
And she is a supernova. She is amazingly charismatic. And I do think the show has never quite been able to expand into an ensemble, because she is just... She sucks up the oxygen in a scene. She's so good.
Yeah.
Well, she's the main character, so she's supposed to have all that screen time. We're lucky she's great. She's not a boring ass white guy.
But it's also right. This is new for Star Trek to have the main character not be a captain. So you're following. It kind of has to make an argument for why Michael Burnham is the lead when she's not the captain. She only became the captain at the end of season 3.
Yeah.
Spoilers. But yeah, I feel like that's interesting, and one of the things I really respect about Disco is it's like kind of breaking that hierarchical idea that, you know, the number one person on the call sheet is in charge of the ship, whereas for much of the first season of Disco, the number one person on the call sheet is like in the brig because she's a mutineer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other characters who have a lot of screen time and also aren't captains, but they do drive the ship is Paul Stamets.
Yeah.
Yes. Major
character.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to...
You forgot to go to engineering.
I forgot to move off the bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, please move off.
And then he is played by Anthony Rapp, and he is one of two first openly gay characters on Star Trek. Mm-hmm. The other one being Wilson Cruz, who plays his partner Hugh Culber, but we call him
Ricky.
Yeah, he's Ricky from
forever.
My So-Called Life
sure
Forever and Ever and Ever.
I
hope he's proud of it.
I can't believe we said that together.
He's great. They're great. I do really like them. So I think we should mention for season 1, in representation terms, fantastic to have kind of this like first just main characters, openly gay, in a relationship, awesome. It does weirdly, and this is like a continuous thing with all of the queer representation on Star Trek Discovery, which is that they sort of walk into the bury your gays trope with the intention of walking out of it in the next season. But it's like, why?
Yeah, I don't know why they had to do it in the first place. Do we know for a fact that they killed Hugh knowing they were going to resurrect him?
I think so, in the sense that I read a interview with Wilson Cruz that kind of talked about how he found out, and like that then he was going to be in, like, so he's killed, and then there's the next episode and he's also in it but in a weird way, and he knew he was going to be in that, and then the showrunners were like, don't worry, you'll be back. I think fairly soon after he found out those scripts where he was getting killed. So from what I've gleaned, it wasn't like they got this reaction the first season and then we're like, oh,
let's bring Ricky back.
It seemed like whilst filming those episodes, the writers were kind of like, don't worry, and then between season 1 and season 2, he was offered to be like a series regular. So I'm pretty sure it was like built in. So that's, it's okay if it's built in, but like at the same time,
but also
like,
confusing. Why do it in the first place?
Yeah, and then you get to season 3, and you have like
drama,
the next,
guys, for drama.
Not to like jump all over the place, but like season 3 kind of does something similar, and you're kind of like, why? Again,
for drama.
Like once again, you're like, well, why? Can they just not be alive?
You can't have the thing that happened without that.
So. Yeah.
That's very cryptic.
Yeah, that's very cryptic.
But anyway, we'll be here all day. Your overall thoughts on like season 1 as a start to Disco?
I loved it. I was very into the tone of it. I loved the characters. I mean, I loved Michael's story. I loved her thing, with Georgiou and stuff. I absolutely loved Captain Lorca. And? Oh, what do you mean and? Are you talking about my other weird tiny character who I love?
Yeah, Corn.
Yeah, Admiral Cornwall.
Yeah.
She's so great. I loved that actress since Chicago Hope. So I was standing her hard. And yet again, my fave gets totally murdered.
Oh. This is what happens when you like the people in the deep background.
I know. So he was so great, man. I fell for it hard. Lorca was so good. Jason Isaacs, of course. I was like, this is the captain. This is how you bring back Star Trek. You get a captain who doesn't give a fuck. He's dark. He's all like, I will torture this person, do this, I don't care. Well, just get it done.
That's a wartime captain.
And I was like, we've never seen anybody like this. I'm fucking standing this guy.
Oh my God.
And then it turns out, my favorite moment when, like I said, from that episode 9, where they do the, Stamets like does a crazy amount of jumps. they, he's secretly mapping out like a way to get to the mirror universe.
Back to the mirror
and he
universe.
goes, let's go home. And you think it's going to that space station, but he means his home. And
he's an imposter.
So good. So good. Yeah. That is so satisfying, and you're shocking, and that's just how drama is done, man. Yeah. It's so good. Right. But then it turns out that like he's like super bad. Like he's like the worst. Like he makes Georgiou look good. Ooh. Like, and she's like the emperor of the mirror universe.
His relationship with Michael was real skeevy.
Well, yeah. he's supposed to be like the ultimate, like no redeeming qualities. It turns out.
Yeah, it really does go that way. You usually hate that.
Well, I do. Yeah. I loved him as this complicated, normal person on, in Starfleet.
As soon as they ironed him out into pure evil, you were less on board.
Because it's like, how do you make the emperor of like the mirror universe be the good one that you can like be okay with?
You have someone to create even more bad.
The ultimate, just like.
That's sort of what I was trying to get at before with the dichotomy or like sort of duality in Starfleet, and all these questions of like, are we a military thing and we're just war people doing stuff, but we're also scientists? Like, that's a really complicated character. So to kind of pull that away and be like, I'm just evil man from evil mirror land.
Not cool.
Yeah. Kind of pulls the rug out from under some of the complicated explorations of Starfleet.
But at the same time, you do still have it there because this, imperialist asshole from fascist mirror universe is incredibly successful in Starfleet and is captaining his ship and is doing a great job at eradicating those Klingons who claim that Starfleet are just like trying to invade their territory and make them stop speaking their language. So like, I think first season is great because it really does have built into it this very interesting critique of the entire Enterprise. I don't mean the Enterprise the ship. I just caught myself a little too late with that. But yeah, I really appreciated just how cynical season one was.
So it was like dark. It was like, like literally like everything, the sets and stuff were dark.
And maybe people were like, it's Star Trek trying to come back into prestige TV land and it has to do these things and blah.
Yeah, so let's change it up.
I liked it though.
Sad to see it go.
I kind of was. The more I think about I've changed my mind 100 times about what season is my favorite. I'm not really sure anymore. But I think that despite its flaws, season 1 was really like setting up a bunch of cool things and ideas and characters. And I was kind of, in retrospect, bummed that the next season is completely different, and then the next season after that is completely different. Yeah. So season 2, we get a new showrunner in solely our friend Kurtzman.
Kurtzman alone. Yeah, I think Gretchen Berg and Aaron Harberts were fired after a few episodes into season 2.
Okay. And as we said, he's from the JJ movies, and I think season 2, we should mention, speaking of Enterprise, that season 1 ends with like kind of the world's biggest fan servicey moment. Yeah. And in a good way, I think it's interesting, where they get a distress beacon, and it is from the Enterprise.
And they play the music.
And they play the original series music, and it's very nostalgic. Like, it's got that, and everybody's like, and then it's over. And so season 2, you have the original Enterprise crew coming on board with Captain Pike, played by Anson Mount.
Number 1.
And number 1, played by Rebecca Romaine. And then the biggest character, aside from Kirk, in all of Star Trek, Spock.
That guy shows up.
And these are Captain Pike. I think has a lot of like lore as being a character in the original pilot, and number 1 also in like the original series pilot had all different characters and stuff except for Leonard Nimoy, who was Spock, and he was there.
But he was green.
And he was green.
Was he really?
Yeah, they tried that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't want to go on a tangent. Stop me. And so now you have like the original Enterprise is here with these characters who come with a lot of baggage.
Especially Spock.
Especially Spock. One of which is the biggest thing that we have yet to mention is that what I think is one of the funnest things that they did with this show is they made Michael Burnham be his sister.
Right. So she was adopted by not only just Vulcans, she was adopted by
Star Vulcans.
Star Vulcans, yeah.
Sarek and Amanda.
And she and Spock have a very complicated relationship that season 2 unpacks a lot, and that was some good material. I enjoyed like the melodrama of that.
But I would say overall, like season 2 has a more movie-esque tone where it's very shiny.
It's a lighter tone.
Yeah.
It's a much lighter tone. Like literally lighter.
And more hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got a lot of Linus in this one.
Polished.
It's funny. He's funny.
Yeah. But maybe in that regard less interesting. I think...
Yeah, it doesn't have ideas in the same way that season 1 did. Or its ideas are more, as I've said, kind of the melodrama ideas about like family and belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some really emotional... good stuff in it. I'm very fond of it because it involves time travel, and I'm a sucker for time travel. Like, sucker. Like, I love... And for the longest time, I was saying season 2 was my favorite, just because of that. But, like, when I take a whole step back, like, maybe objectively, it's the worst season. Maybe?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Just because season 1 was doing all this interesting stuff, and all this news, but like I really do like, and I really do like the Enterprise crew. Like, yes, Pike is like your white guy captain coming in, but I like him. I think he's nice. I think he's like a good guy. I don't really have an issue with him. I like the episode where they called back to the Telosians, and it's very classic.
That's directed by T.J. Scott.
Oh, our old pal T.J. Scott.
I love any show that employs TJ.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it was so good.
He also did one in season 1, Mirror Universe.
Cool.
Yeah.
He would. TJ. Yeah, I like number 1, and I do like Spock a lot. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Spock is one of my favorite Star Trek characters. He's Spock. Like, he's a great character. Vera would be the one to be like, I hate Spock and I hate Data and all this stuff.
Well, I do hate Data.
Because they're so popular and whatever.
He was really good.
You worry about stuff like that coming in and like kind of taking away from the main that we're following by just having all this baggage and whatever, but I don't think it does. And I think that it's really smart to like have Burnham be part of his family.
Yeah.
Spock has a sad beard because he's having issues.
I thought the beard was very hot, and then when it disappeared, I was very sad.
Me too.
I think everybody was.
I was upset. Damn it. They should bring it back on Strange New Worlds. So they're getting their own show.
This whole season in a way felt like a backdoor pilot for Strange New Worlds, which is the spin-off starring these guys.
Yeah.
All these guys.
And the Enterprise, right?
People know very little about, but the one thing that I did hear, Anson Mount was on the official Star Trek podcast, The Pod Directive, and it's actually going to be way more episodic. Like, it's really going to be retro.
Wow.
Great. I've been waiting for this show. Oh, I'm so glad it's happening. And I'm so glad it's going to be on the Enterprise.
Vera's sharpening her knives.
So happy right now.
There's a Star Trek for everyone.
Fuck you. Oh, God. And he came over, now I'm in rant mode. He came over and took over being captain of Discovery. And you know what? He started giving people little nicknames, and I didn't appreciate it. And I can't believe... And they had to just go out of their way being like, oh, why didn't you participate? Our greatest ship, the Enterprise, why didn't you participate in the big giant fucking war that just decimated Starfleet?
How on earth is the Enterprise the greatest ship?
Right?
When Discovery exists
Yeah.
with its mycelial network
Yeah.
spore drive.
Exactly,
Magic
right?
mushroom drive.
Because we never mentioned Discovery, the ship again.
It can literally materialize anywhere in the galaxy
It can materialize
in a second.
inside the Enterprise if it wanted to.
It's a secret, that's why.
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
right.
secret ship no
It's
one knows about.
Shinier.
Everyone decided not to talk about it, so...
You know what bums me out about this era of Star Trek?
You got people fighting about it?
No, like this time. I mean, on the timeline, is
Oh.
that they don't have a holodeck.
They don't.
Like they have like
Oh,
the.
this is pre-hollow.
They did. They had to have like a real party with people and like balloons and stuff.
Well, they
That's
have
right.
real parties on other ships.
No, just holodecks.
No, they do. But like they have that like fight simulator.
Oh,
That's like the
yeah.
proto. But I miss a silly holodeck.
Are you sure it's a fight simulator?
It's like for tactics and learning.
Oh,
It's
right.
not-
Yes.
The holodeck is supposed to also be for that stuff, but people just use it for sex and like fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have that.
It's just like the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a tangent. But
Season 2 introduced you, Katie, to one of your favorite characters, Jett Reno.
Oh,
Jett Reno.
Jett Reno.
Tig, played by fantastic comedian Tig Notaro. Love Jett Reno.
Her intro episode was really good, and then you would think that she would be joined the cast as the chief engineer of Discovery, the ship. Nope. She just kind of like appears once in a while whenever.
They do have a chief engineer.
Why isn't it Jett Reno? We know. Literally every other, not to be this kind of person, but like
We are
literally
this kind of person.
Literally every other Star Trek show, like that is one of the main characters, the chief engineer.
Yeah.
And it just drives me bonkers
There's
that
no
this is
main.
not. I guess like Stamets is the equivalent because
Yeah,
he like
'cause he's
drives the
mushroom
thing.
guy, and
But
since
that.
Discover runs on mushrooms, not engineering.
But there's amazing conflict whenever he's like with Jett Reno because they fight about it.
I
They kind of
can't
like,
believe the ship runs on mushrooms. I'm still not
Oh,
over
God.
it. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Paul Stamets is named after a real guy who runs on mushrooms.
Who does mushroom science. I know. There was also a guy named Stamets in Hannibal who
Oh,
also
right.
did stuff with mushrooms.
That's right.
This is why I
Brian
know
Fuller
this is a Brian
obsessed
Fuller
with
idea.
it.
Yeah. It's
Anyway.
interesting when you start getting into the whole thing with Trek and like dilithium mining and what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the environmental ideas, which I think are very baked in with the mushroom thing, are those are interesting. I think.
Yeah.
And those are there throughout all of Disco, so I do appreciate that. This more of a concern for the environment.
Climate change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, machines and the natural world intersecting in this really
Well, that's
poetic way.
season 2,
Yeah.
sort of bad guys like a big machine.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think one of the things, season 2 and season 3, I feel like maybe season 1 like didn't really do this, and that's why maybe it's my favorite. I don't know. I think a thing that Star Trek, modern Treks, maybe now need to just take one little step back from is that season 2 and season 3 both, and also season 1 of Picard, they're all just about this like massive universe-ending shenanigans that are huge and so big that I feel like maybe we don't need another massive universe-ending.
This is a problem with superhero movies, too. I think this is a narrative trend that needs to be, de-escalated.
Yeah. Like War with the Klingons. That's not
good.
like...
You get that.
And that creates a lot of new
Tension.
stories, whereas universe ending, the stakes are so high that there's this abstraction where you're like, well, I can't really imagine that. Like, what is that like? Like, how do you fix that?
Yes. So I was going to say, season 2 and season 3 both have this thing, and it's a little bit JJ, a little bit mystery box, where it's like, the Red Angel. What is it? What is it? What is it? Red Angel. This thing. Signal.
Right,
What is it? What is it? I think it's cool. I think that season 2 is. I think when you get to it, it's really cool.
It was more episodic because each episode they'd go and investigate a signal, and it was like a different situation they had to fix.
Yeah, I like that. And I think the ultimate resolution of it was pretty cool too. If not, like, I mean, I think maybe there was a lot happening.
Yeah.
But it was still cool. And I liked that because I like time travel. So I don't know what is just me being like, ooh, that's my thing versus like not taking a step back enough to be like, maybe that was messy. I don't know. I just liked it because it was like Michael doing crazy time travel stuff, and like it involved like her parents and her mom and like emotional stuff.
The visuals of it were also really cool. Her in the suit and like the weird trippy flashing lights around her as she kind of topples through space.
Guys, let's just be real. There's no reason for that suit to be full of angel wings.
It was
like that was just to be
for
a
the
visual
mystery box.
And then also Georgiou does so many good fights.
Yeah, Georgiou is all over that season doing good fights and having this amazing relationship with Michael.
Yeah, and so that's when you introduce Michael's real mother, it becomes like this weird kind of like, tension.
Well, Michael has so many women competing to be her mother. There's Amanda.
And then her other mother.
And her bio mom, and Georgiou, her spiritual mom.
From an alternate universe.
From another universe,
So, I mean, their relationship is like really developed in season 2. And that's where you fall in love with Emperor Georgiou and you believe in her.
A fully developed character.
She's the one who can change, and she does. She already does the right thing.
It's cool seeing a character from the mirror universe now in our regular universe interacting with people, and like it's kind of that question, like, what is she really like? Like the mirror universe is such a way that you just have to be such a way.
You've
and now
been
that
raised that
out
in this culture,
like, can she actually be more like the Georgiou we met just in the pilot?
I mean, not quite. That bitch was righteous.
But like, I think that like that stuff was really interesting and fun, and her outfits are always fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she had a lot.
And she becomes one of the primary kind of comedic forces in the show too. Her dark sense of humor.
I think Michelle Yeoh in an interview was like, "Oh, they want me to be funny." Like, okay, but she's so funny.
She's really, really funny.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
She's funny IRL too.
Yeah.
She's like funny on podcasts and stuff. And they sort of like weave out the Klingon stuff. That's kind of like a tragedy because we did get these amazing characters that we fell in love with.
There is some of it.
And then they just kind of like, they put hair on them.
They do their best to kind of do justice to it, but you can tell that it feels very much like there's a gun to their head to like get rid of these characters as quickly as possible. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Which is it's just such a bummer. I just feel like I honestly like in the depths of myself really bad, especially for Mary Chivo. Is that how you say her last name?
Laurel's actress.
Who's just so committed and like so into it, and so into being there. Yeah,
she had very little to do in season 2, and Ash/Vogue has increasingly little to do.
But he's going to the new show,
the other spinoff.
Yeah, the other spinoff,
the Section 31 spinoff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a problem I have with season 2 is just how many backdoor pilots are threaded into it. You have the Section 31, you have you're just like, whoa, is anybody here actually concerned with Discovery, the show they're on right now?
That's season 2 kind of, we mentioned time travel, and it ends quite a huge kind of thing, which is that it moves
time travel.
moves the show far away from
we now
have our 900 years.
We now have our answer to why like no one has ever heard of Discovery, the ship. It's kind of eradicated from
the history
books on purpose. And
because they went into the future.
Not just because they went into the future.
They're custodians of this AI technology that would destroy the present timeline, so they send it into the far future.
Yeah.
Basically. And then for some reason have to erase anyone's memory of it for fear that they will somehow, I guess, get that AI technology.
Yeah.
It's really complicated.
Yeah.
What it really means is they just need to get the show out of the timeline it's in because it never really fit well in that timeline.
So here's our third big and more, not even a soft reboot. This is the kind of
hard,
this is
extremely hard reset. Yeah.
They have been flung 900 years into the future in season 3. I think season 3, from fanish and critical response, seems to be everyone's favorite season. Like that this is what it's
finally found its place.
Yeah. And
discovering really new worlds.
Yeah. Like living up to the actual name, Discovery. It begins with this sort of conceit that Michael is kind of separate from the disco crew and ends up in the 900 years in the future first, and then it could be any moment or 1,000 years from now that the rest of the disco cast finds her. So she lives a year in the future, and we don't see it entirely at first. And so is kind of like this different person with new fun hair and a new fun boyfriend. We'll talk about before the rest of the cast shows up in the third episode, whatever it was. And it's really cool. It's really fun. It's cool to like see them set up this just entirely new area of Star Trek that isn't bogged down with the lore of all of Star Trek. It's really impossible for a franchise to just keep up with every fucking thing that it's ever done. And even though it was just in like the TOS era and even before TOS, it was still burdened with Spock and this and that and
the Enterprise.
What we can't do yet because the technology of this era isn't even TOS era technology. Like, now it makes sense. Now they're in an area where it makes sense. Like on Like a Picard, which is just like, oh my God, like every single second you're like, what? Now it's free. It's free to do what it likes, and it does.
I really like the status quo that you find in the future to begin with, which is that all of the dilithium has disappeared in a mysterious burn.
Yes.
So actually there's been this technological setback.
Yeah.
And that's led to a lot of division in the galaxy. I thought that was a really interesting, different picture of Star Trek, where you're so used to Starfleet as this connective force, and here they're
fully diminished,
very, very diminished. And in fact, people, there's that one guy who's sitting there trying to listen for their signal. And you have I was made very emotional by that. Not even. I am not a lifetime Star Trek person, so I was like, oh, Starfleet, a thing I never thought I'd care about. Suddenly, this poor guy misses it, and I have a feeling.
The Federation hardly exists. It's only a couple planets and a few guys,
which is really shocking. Yeah,
but I think again, for a reset to take away the power of the Federation is again a bold and interesting move, and I hope they can continue to play with that idea.
Yeah, I think that is again another great thing about all of the modern Treks is that in their different ways are poking more holes in what it all means than the earlier ones did. Not that they didn't, Deep Space Nine especially, I think, was doing that. But the more cynical Picard attitude towards Starfleet versus this one, which is it doesn't exist, but the hope is there of what it can be.
Exactly.
And it's I think season 3 also, we should say, aired aired in the fall.
Yeah, that one aired.
Of
we were just
2020. Which was a time. I don't know if you guys remember, or if you blocked it out, but it was a really interesting time for a Star Trek to be airing, and I think was doing a good job of being the right show at the right time. And And that's what's so good about season 3. I think it, like, for me, will always be, like, associated with kind of being, like...
I never thought about it, but you're totally right. Like the isolation of, no longer having the warp drives. Every planet is on their own. That is a kind of metaphor for what lockdown is like. Everybody in their own little house. You can't connect.
Which is, like, they wrote this thing beforehand, but, the politics and, like... There's a whole, like, climate change thing running through it, and, just the idea of, like, government maybe being good again was, like, on the horizon. I don't know. It was, like, it was just, I don't know. It just felt good.
Yeah.
And, again, obviously having a show and a Star Trek where Michael Burnham is at, like, the center just felt good. But, yeah. And it looked really cool.
Yeah, they had to invent new things. Yeah. All sorts of new things.
What is the future of the Star Trek universe? Like, what does that look like? 900 years? Woo.
That's a lot of time in the future to be. Yeah. They have crazy stuff.
Cool outfits.
Yeah.
They have personal transporters. That's good.
Yeah. That's nuts. You can just
like that.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to be,
But I don't like the like nothing exists and then you can just like make a
particle
materialize
effects. Things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe like, it's too much.
Like weird chairs and stuff. It's just like very strange. Like little details.
I had my little note about the floor that just materializes.
Yeah.
I thought that was bananas. I was like, whoa. But like, what do you do? It's so far in the future. Yeah. It can't just be, It doesn't look like now, so that's nice. Because I think a lot of the Star Treks, you look at them and it's like, well, that looks like 1989.
Well, they filmed like really like in cool. I mean, I don't know if I didn't fact check this if they filmed like in actual new crazy locations, but to me it seemed like some of those planets were really cool locations, like black sand, beaches and stuff. That's not. I don't know if Canada has that to offer.
I'm not probably sure. Kamloops again.
Yeah. When in doubt.
So that was really cool. I just remember a lot of it being kind of like more outside.
Didn't they go somewhere?
That's what I think. Like I think they went somewhere.
They go to Iceland.
They went to Iceland.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm like, it seemed different.
They went to Iceland. Yeah.
When you need something
an alien
that looks
planet,
different, go to Iceland
for sure. So that was really cool. The introduction of like the baddies of the season, I guess, which is like
the Emerald
Chain, which, okay, guys, like, not to be one of these people, but I do.
You are one of these people. Just accept it.
I love me some OG like aliens, like Orions and oh my god, I'm blanking. Andorians. Yes, Orions and Andorians, and I loved seeing them here. And but I did not appreciate how kind of shitty the Emerald Chain turned out to be.
But they're supposed to be.
No, but like shitty isn't like it could have been better. Like the like that actress. Yeah, the plot.
I thought you were like they are. It's
they're
the
very
whole
shitty.
thing.
Yeah, well,
they
not all Orions.
There wasn't a lot of threat with them.
Well, I like that it was basically like gangs, like Orions are always like kind of shady. Like they featured in season 1, that was a great episode when they go in season 1. I forget what the plot was, but like Tilly has like a special briefcase tied to her and she's like in this bar and then Georgiou has some fun with some Orions.
Qo'noS.
That was for
that was like
Qo'noS,
okay, but it was like kind of like the seedy underground part of it. And Clint Howard was in that episode.
He's in many Treks.
And it's because of how he's like a big Trek person. But anyway, Orions are like fun. And so therefore like some of them are shady. And so I just wanted like more depth, I guess. And I also like really hated how the reimagining of Orions and Andorians. Wow, why am I blanking on that? They changed them. Like they put like extra things on their faces that don't need to be there.
Oh, we know Vera hates things on the faces.
I did think that for Osira, who was one of the big baddies of the season, it kind of inhibited the actress.
Yeah, she couldn't speak.
And it made it really difficult for me to, like, just care.
There was something tonally off for her.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand she was the big bad for several episodes because there was just something sort of funny and small time about her.
Yeah.
It somehow wasn't.
I mean, they mentioned her before you saw her,
right?
But like,
they were building it correctly, but it somehow just did not register.
Have been a lot better than she was, unfortunately.
Yeah, but the big thing of season 3 is again another one of these mystery box-esque things that they keep mentioning, which is the burn, which like all of the please correct me because I got so confused, but like all the dilithium went poof.
Yeah, like, it burned.
It burned.
And that is, key to warp travel and all sorts. And it's a big thing.
What caused it?
And nobody knows what caused it. And it's a huge, and it keeps getting mentioned, like the burn. The ultimate like resolution of it, I think, is like well done in the episode, but also like doesn't. It was as if from nowhere. So I am of two minds about it because I liked the sort of kind of very traumatic reason that it happened and sort of these emotional scenes that, if you've seen the season, ended the season, but it just didn't. It just felt, I don't know, tacked on after being like the burn. It wasn't what it. I think the point was that it wasn't really what you thought it was going to be, but...
Guys, this is a metaphor for COVID and how COVID started.
Really work.
Whoa.
No, it's not because they were... I'm worried that next season... Not worried, but I think next season they will have written last year.
Yeah.
So there might be more of that in season 4.
I would be curious to see.
I think... Well, there is a teaser for season 4.
There's a mystery already.
And it's the gravity anomaly that's fucking everyone up, which I was like, is that COVID? I already did that. I was like,
gravity
and
anomaly.
it was like everyone needs to come together to defeat the gravity anomaly. And I was like, oh no. I don't know if that's like the overarching thing of the season or if it's just like that happens in one episode and it's over.
No, it has to be.
They tend to, I mean, this seems to be how they structure their seasons now, is there is a thing, a mystery box. Which, not my favorite narrative device, but at the same time, it's working for them. Yeah, it is allowing them, I think, to kind of do what they want with their seasons without having to worry too much about serialization. Yeah. So
season 3. It also goes yet further in making Star Trek Disco the queerest, gayest, bestest of all of the Star Treks, with more representation. They have trans representation and non-binary representation this season that I think they did mostly a good job with. And I really like some of those stories, especially how they called back to Deep Space Nine, having just watched some of the Trill stuff on Deep Space Nine. Yeah. I really think that the kids that they have playing Adira and Gray are fantastic. But again, like I mentioned earlier with Stamets and Culber, one of the characters is not alive. So again, I say, why?
Yeah.
Well, again, but okay, I mean...
It seems like, I feel like I've seen people say that the writers know about this and want to fix it again.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why did they do it twice?
I know, it's pretty amazing they managed to do it twice. The same.
But because Gray is a Trill, that Trill lives on.
Right. That's a fairly simple way of trying to fix it. But I think they're going to really fix it, like have other people able to interact with Gray. So it won't just be him and Adira. Yeah.
Sorry to Reese and Bryce on the bridge. They're not getting any stories.
But yeah, I really loved when they went to Trill and Ronnie from Schitt's Creek was there.
Right.
And I do really love the little family that all of the gays make on Disco, including Jett Reno, who is canonically also, like, there is no, aside from, like, the season when, like, Pike was there and Spock, like, there's no, like, straight white man on Disco, which is awesome.
Yeah. Like, literally racking my brain to think of one.
Like, as part of the main cast. That's really
Saroo
cool.
doesn't count.
Saroo's a Kelpian.
Just, okay.
And he has a Vulcan girlfriend now.
I don't know anything about Bryce and Reese.
I'm pretty sure Reese was flirting with Ariam.
Okay.
I don't know anything about Bryce, though.
Okay.
Don't know which
in terms
way.
of their sexuality.
Yeah, don't know where they swing.
But yeah, I do really like that. I think there could be a little like more like development there. Yeah, and I don't want it to just be like this. I don't know. It kind of was like it saves the Stamets and Culber kind of thing by adopting the children.
Yeah.
I don't know, but they're very sweet little family and I love it. And the whole show is just a gay explosion, so it's fantastic. I would say I also appreciate that like Star Trek does this thing, and I feel like you always want to like contextualize where like Adira has a conversation about their pronouns, and it's like you want it to be like that far in the future. It's not even a deal, but like but obviously it would be, because it would obviously always be a discussion, kind of like when you're talking to people.
Yeah.
But just to have that in a Star Trek, like a big show, for people to listen to and absorb, very good.
Yes.
Like you need to have that. Like it's of now, and we need to have those conversations now. So
and it's never an issue again. Like once it's said and explained, it's like they're always referred to as by their pronouns.
Exactly. So that was cool. Go Star Trek.
So Saroo was the captain of Discovery in season 3. So this is kind of like a defense against the dark arts situation where every season had a new captain.
They're going to have to do something, every year, which frightens me because season 4, finally Michael is captain. So does this mean she's only gets to be captain for 1 year?
No.
I hope not.
I really hope not.
But it is really cute how they did try on like lines, like the captain lines, as like,
first Saroo was trying them.
He never solidified on one, right?
No.
Yeah.
Michael got one at the end.
What can you remind me what hers?
Let's fly.
Let's fly. Okay.
But I think that only works in certain situations. Like this is a bigger conversation where like there are captains who have more than one thing.
Yeah, of course.
Like you can't say let's fly
for everything.
Like Pike even in Disco had and then in the JJ movies, his are like punch it and hit it.
Hate it.
That
they're very violent.
They're very like white dude, bro.
Janeway's is
the best. Janeway's is the best.
Do it.
Get it fucking done. That's Janeway right there. Get me that coffee and get it done.
I don't know if Cisco has one.
We haven't gotten to it.
He does have one eventually.
We don't know because he's like a space station commander.
He's not a captain
only
of the
on
ship.
season 3.
Sometimes he flies the ship, but he just got the ship, so
he still
has hair and no beard.
Technically, he's not a captain until season 3 either, because they don't have a ship.
Yeah. He's commander.
He's commander.
Which kind of sucks because he's like lower rank, I guess, than every other one.
But he's still in charge of the station.
Yeah, he is. He's awesome.
Generally. Yeah.
I love DS9.
DS9's the best. Maybe. And then, what does Kirk say?
Kirk?
He
says, I'm the best.
I can't remember. Anyway, Picard like has the 2 also, which is engage and make it so.
Yeah.
Which is like let's fly is like the engage.
Yeah.
So like you need and like
she needs
do
to come
it
up
is
with...
like a make it so. But there needs to be another one, is what I'm saying. You can't just say let's fly.
Okay, Michael needs to go back to the drawing board for a second catchphrase.
If someone is like doing something that's having to do with like the ship going somewhere, she can't say let's fly.
No.
She needs to make it so.
She does, yeah. We'll see what it is. We'll see.
Things to look forward to.
Anyway.
And they got new uniforms, and that's good too, because the ones from season 3 were bad. So we're still in a transformative state.
This
that's
show
Disco.
is always, it's
much like a mycelial network.
Like the only show that like didn't change uniforms was Voyager because they were just
they were stuck. They couldn't do it.
They couldn't.
Yeah, when they came back, it was all everything they were wearing was out of fashion.
Yeah, and they kept wearing them. And technically, she could have been like, "Who cares?"
Yeah.
Casual Friday every day. Nobody's watching us.
No, they needed the structure, Katie.
Yeah, I know.
They needed that structure.
Sure.
Like we haven't all been wearing sweatpants for a year.
Sometimes you put on a bra for the structure.
But anyway, Star Trek and Disco, even just Disco, very sprawling, very huge, like so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
What have we not hit on? Anything? The music is lovely. I love the opening credits. It's really
we
cool.
should tweet out the thing that we became obsessed with, the YouTube video of this person performing all the theme songs on a violin, and there's a special guest star, a little dog.
Yeah, the theme song is really pretty. The music is by Jeff Russo, who I just wanted to shout out because I love the music.
It's
also
very
does
distinctive.
Picard, and I think I forget if also everything on the show For All Mankind, but definitely the opening theme, which is also really beautiful.
Nice.
So he does cool space music. I really like it.
Yeah, and I like the design of the title sequence.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I read a cool thing about it, which is like, you're seeing all these blueprints, and it's kind of like pulling things apart and like putting it back together, and it's like a kind of a metaphor for the show. So that's cool. I think that starting in season 4, it'll be like more like season 3. Season 3 is the tone.
And I should say it's the same showrunner.
Yeah.
Finally, they're having
I think they found
some
themselves.
continuity with the showrunners.
This is it. This is Disco now. Yeah.
Michelle Paradise, I should say.
Nice.
Female showrunner.
Very good.
We will have to wait to see what happens with the hopefully, potentially still happening Michelle Yeoh spinoff about Section 31, because she didn't leave the show in season 3. In
David Cronenberg sent her away.
Right, David Cronenberg was there. That was a trip.
And well, he didn't play the Guardian of Forever, which was another big fan servicey thing that I personally enjoyed, because again, I love time travel. And I thought that was fun. And it worked. Like, it didn't, like, you can have these big things that are like really like, that's the best original series episode, I think.
Michelle Yeoh in the podcast, the Paul F. Tompkins one, was like, I didn't know what this Guardian of Forever was, and I was like, oh, everyone's reacting so intensely to it, and they were like, yeah, just use that, because your character wouldn't know.
Yeah.
She was like, okay.
But yeah, so that was really cool. But yeah, it's a really fun show. I think if you're still listening and you haven't seen it and you're not worried about
being confused by now,
so spoiled and confused, you should definitely watch it. It's definitely worth it and a lot of fun, despite any of its, like, you know, like any TV show has its issues.
It has an amazing, like, main character, like, so many layers of this person. It's like a fully fleshed out human being. It's so good. And like the conflicts that she goes through are just like so good. So just watch for that.
Yeah, they're really, you need say no more.
Yeah, you don't
I
have
think
to
it's
be
a
like,
great,
meh, but it's great.
I think it's really great if you haven't watched any Star Trek.
Yeah,
ever.
for sure. Well,
like,
that's the thing. We made Amanda watch a lot of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And this is her favorite. It's like definitely for people who like don't have Star Trek in their history, and if they want to have some, this is the way to go for sure. Like,
how do you watch Picard and even...
Well, Picard
like,
is for people who know Picard from TNG. You know what I mean?
Like,
this is not.
You need it.
This isn't.
You don't need anything.
Yeah.
You don't need any baggage for Disco. You can just jump on in. Mm-hmm. And like, even the stuff that is a reference, you don't need to know the reference. They'll help you out.
Yeah,
you don't need it.
And then maybe later you'll tune into like the old Star Treks and you'll be like, oh my god, that's just like in Disco, which is what I just did about the Dax episode. Even though that came first.
That did come first. Yeah.
Well, I hope that this episode made you happy, Amanda. And then Spock's mom, Amanda, also.
Yeah.
Dedicated to all the Amandas out there.
Yeah. And then Follow us on all the stuff and things, guys.
Yeah, cool. Well, firstly, just to mention, shortly, we will have our next IMDb experience for everyone who subscribes at whatever the levels on Patreon. Will be, did I say what it was? No, it will be Ash versus Evil Dead, which I'm so excited about. I love that show. Holy crap, it's so fun.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one to talk about.
So I'm really excited about that. So look out for that soonish. And yes, go to Patreon, which is, patreon.com, and we're Xena Warrior Podcast over there, and you can check everything out. We are on Twitter. Oh, I usually do that last. Apple Podcasts and stuff, you can go and subscribe and rate and leave reviews, which we love to read. You can subscribe and listen wherever all the podcasts are that you listen to, basically anywhere. We're on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod, and all the other ones are Xena Warrior Podcast.
Yeah, confusing you with that Twitter.
But yeah, go watch a Star Trek. There is one for you out there.
For sure.
If it's not disco, it could be something else. Mm-hmm. But they're all good. Don't be those people who are like, watch it. This isn't Star Trek. It's all Star Trek, and it's all good.
And Michelle Yeoh is amazing. So there you go. The power.
The passion.
The podcast.